All right, so yes, we've got some official updates straight from the dev team today, and a bigger concern about how Nexon is handling Ultimate Descendants going forward. Now, this could potentially really hurt the game, and Nexon really needs to be careful on how they approach this, so we've got to dive in here and discuss it. Also, we're going to be talking about tank characters, cheap mechanics from Gluttony, and much more. And yes, as always, your top comment, so be sure to leave a comment down below. It could end up right here in a future video, but first, on to the official stuff here, because we have a client patch that just went out. It says, we are informing you that a maintenance-free patch has been implemented, so no downtime, thankfully, for this one. It applied to all platforms, and it fixed strengthen for shot module non-reset error, and that was what they addressed there. Now, this is part of what they're following here with known issues. They have a whole thread here about what they plan to tackle, what they currently have also tackled, and also in here, if you're having crashes and connection issues with the game, they have some temporary fixes that you can use. So I'm going to throw this in the description below, so check that out. It might actually help you out with your connection issues and crashes. Now, let's get into this one right here. It says the following: anyone else think it's weird that a character, Ultimate Valby, has a skill that specifically says it works on a single raid boss? I brought up this issue, and now it's being brought up by the community. It says her red module says it attracts gluttony impurities, specifically gluttony and nothing else. Doesn't that just scream, hey, we released this near impossible boss, and the only way to make it playable is to get the new Ultimate Descendant with her exclusive red mod? It makes no sense that it should do that. Valby has no connection to gluttony, and there's nothing else in the game that the skill affects. Doesn't that seem scummy to anyone else? Edit, just to give another example. And again, this is a hypothetical. It says next raid boss, Toxic Mancer, has a mechanic that you need to disable some pylons that have the old floating immunity orbs that you have to kill in order. Otherwise, they all reset. They release Ultimate Sharon, for example, with an Ultimate Sharon exclusive mod that changes her electric blade to read no longer inflicts electrocution, but swings vertically, disables Toxic Mancer's pylons completely. So the first question is, would this not be awful design? And if it is, wouldn't that mean it's obviously low effort scumbaggery? We got some opinions here. It says, I'm more upset about cleanup. She can move through enemies as long as they aren't holding a shield, because somehow a shield blocks me, but their big dumb body does it. And yeah, this is, I think, a lot of what is being said in this post is a bit concerning with how far they would actually take this with new Ultimate Descendants related to the new bosses they plan to release. Because if this is the pattern that they're going for, then they're really trying to funnel you into buying the ultimate versions of the Descendants to have an actual gameplay advantage when facing off against those bosses. And that does concern me. Again, like, there's a certain point where I think the player base will say, hold up now, all of my Descendants, the ones that I've worked very hard on, should be able to actually take on this boss without worry. And of course, some of you will probably be like, hey, you know what? My current Descendant, they aren't Ultimate Valby, can easily take on the brand new boss Gluttony. So that sounds like a skill-based player issue, which, yeah, you can argue that. But again, yeah, at what point do they get ridiculous with some of the advantages that potentially Ultimate Descendants could have versus these brand new bosses? So I think it's a slippery slope, and Nexon needs to be mindful about this going forward for sure. And it's brought up some excellent discussions though. So here's this. They should honestly rework certain characters so that these interactions happen more often. Frost Walker wouldn't be as painful if a fire Descendant like Blair could hard counter the team wipe, stuff like that. And you know what? Mentioning the team wipe, we've got to talk about that, because that's one of the mechanics that is frustrating the hell out of players, especially when they are heading into random matchmaking. Check it out. Gluttony is too punishing. Do you agree with this or not? The fight itself isn't hard. The wipe mechanic is just too much. The boss has around 150 million HP, doing too much damage, causes the gauge to fill up too fast. Constantly cooling down the boss causes lack of DPS. You need a crap ton of balls for the gauge to actually go down. Someone dying results in 2 less ball boys or DPSers because someone needs to revive them after rage phase. The ball spawners are farther away when the gauge is at its highest. Why? Devs preach about run and gun gameplay, but this boss is shoot the balls into the boss's face simulator. Personally, being ball boy isn't fun, and the fact there isn't lobby party finders makes the queuing into the boss result with no Valbys or 4 Valbys. Either make it so the gauge only fills up due to the time, currently it's both DPS and time, or make it so the gauge cooldowns faster from less balls. Here's a video so you know I'm not talking out of my ass. As you can see here, he does show an example of what he is talking about here. And, you know, if we fast forward through here, you can see, I believe the wipe mechanic does happen here. Ultimately, you just can't escape it. And this is one mechanic that a lot of players are saying, hey, this is cheap. This isn't fun. It needs to be adjusted going forward. And again, it's a bit of a worry with the brand new bosses that they are currently working on. So I'm really crossing my fingers they look at this and take the feedback to heart. And they're also being very mindful about how they're handling ultimate descendants related to these bosses as well. All right, so next up, we have this one right here. Tanks should have a taunt. Yes, please. I'm an Ajax main. I'm nigh immortal. I can survive the entire duration of Dead Bride's cute little snow globe. Devourer can't even get through my shield before he dies. Even Gluttony can't break my barrier cube easily. And when he finally does break my shield, he's met with twice as much HP to burrow through. Yet they all ignore me, to one-shot the Bunny, Glay, Lepik, or Valby across the map from them. I'd absolutely love it if we had some way to force aggro onto us, make it an external component set, or even a rare ultimate mod, make Expulsion act as a taunt on Colossi, or even give us an ultimate weapon whose ability is literally just inflicts taunt on critical hit at 5 stacks of taunt. Enemy focuses on you, something. Yeah, aggro seems to be lacking in this game for sure, considering it's also very team-based. So it would be really, really cool if they did end up adding this in here. But also, I want to see this. Grappling hooks should have no cooldown outside of combat for fun sake. I said it in a post title. Traversing areas will be a lot more fun and fast. Plus, will allow players to do some fun, silly things. Cooldown for grappling hooks only makes sense in combat. Outside it, it's depressing. And I couldn't agree more. It would definitely put the parkour type mechanic over the top for sure. Now, there was an interesting post about the big list of feedback issues, and it was a very long-winded post with excellent points across it, but I did want to highlight some of the most important bits here. It says top issues, and this one comes from, I should highlight who it comes from here, right there, Anaka23, I believe. Says a lot of Void Reactor bosses need a serious nerf, massive health pools, and no way to get ammo and MP back. Miserable experience. Ammo and MP recovery is a major problem during boss fights in general. Player collision and group content is extremely annoying and needs to go away. And forced public intercept bosses do not work. The level required knowledge and coordination is not compatible with public groups. This is why LFR difficulty rates in WoW are so easy. So yeah, really, there's also like a lack of knowledge being presented, tutorials for players to understand boss mechanics. It just seems like a lot of random players just cannot grasp what is happening with the boss, especially with the wipe mechanic. In fact, we have some other opinions here. It says the required coordination and knowledge of mechanics needed for bosses like Hangman, Frostwalker, etc. are incompatible with forced public groups. It just becomes a matter of requeuing endlessly until you get lucky and then never going back. If bosses are meant to be farmed countless times for parts, they shouldn't be this difficult and have insta-wipe mechanics. I've given up completely on Frostwalker. It's simply not worth the frustration. But again, there's some players in the community that say, too bad, find a really good group to play with. This is how it's meant to be played, especially on harder difficulties. Then again, I think some people are very busy. Their friends are busy. They're at work, school, what have you. And it probably can be a little bit more difficult to find a set group of players to play with. So being able to hop in a random based, matchmaking mode can be extremely helpful in this regard. So yeah, I just think that there might be fine tuning needed here with telling players and projecting to players what is going on with the boss. I'm not talking about complete hand holding, of course, but it sure would be nice to have some sort of idea that there is going to be an instant wipe mechanic here instead of kind of like having players frustratingly figure this stuff out on their own. Now, we also have this one right here, quality of life stuff. Let me do more research projects at the same time and let me queue up multiple of the same one. Increase sprint speed in Albion. I'd love that one. Please significantly increase the pickup range on Gold and Kuiper. Ultimately, make it go directly into your inventory. I think they will have an adjustment for that because remember, companions are going to be coming up here soon. So maybe they can pick up your Gold and Kuiper for you. Please add a quick deploy option for ground targeted skills. Double tap keybind to drop at current location. The drop rates on successful stealth outpost runs seem awfully low at 5 to 25% for the AM. It feels like it's a lot lower than that. And there's a bunch of other feedback here. It's a great post to read through. This is a very well thought out post based around what the community has been saying the entire time. I really hope that Nexon takes a look at that one for sure. But you know what time it is? It is time for your top comments. Let's do this. All right, so the first comment is this one. Anyone else think it's ridiculous that you can't paint your default character skins unless it's bought through the shop? Once again, everyone is just like begging and pleading Nexon to fix this one. Now it says the build change sounds great, but it could also be a catalyst sync if you have to use catalyst on each build. It'd be even better if they carried over the already catalyzed sockets and allow us to change them. I'm really kind of like worried about this now. I was talking about it in my video with the, they're going to be doing some updates with build diversity, but now, I'm kind of paranoid that maybe Nexon overlooks this and it could actually be detrimental to the game. So I'm really crossing my fingers that they see that comment right there and are mindful about that sort of thing and they don't, piss off and aggravate the community, because that would definitely be a problem for sure. All right, so next up we have something about Luna. I became a Luna main, and the next wave screen is the bane of my existence. When you get to an end wave screen and you are Luna, you automatically drop out of your rhythm mechanic and lose all of your mechanic stacks. What is worse is that if you don't have a good cooldown and the vote goes quickly, your skill is still on cooldown when the next wave starts. So infuriating. This definitely needs to be looked into. I have not seen many Luna characters, by the way. I'm not too sure how popular she is. Let me know if you guys have even tried her out or not. I am curious your take on Luna, or if you feel like she's one of the more least played Descendants. Yeah, sound off. Next up, we have this one right here. Yes, that door closing right on the heels of the very first person that enters. Come on. Give us 5 seconds at least to let others in. We barely have 1 second before the slam. Totally agree. Now it says, I think the devs are overly obsessed with tiny numbers, and that is why most things have an annoyingly low drop rate. It makes you wonder if the entire studio has a fear of numbers larger than 0.2. Probably. Then it says, there definitely needs to be a guaranteed way to farm for code breakers, or at least elite yellow health and dungeon bosses should have like a 75% drop chance for code breakers. I've been playing since day one a lot and have only gotten like 25 ultra codes between normal and hard combined. And that's what keeps you playing. That's, that's what they're trying to do to the player base. When will it drop? When will it happen? It's the same thing with going to a casino. I hate to say it. It's that same mentality. But Nexon, they still have yet, mentioning the drop rates and stuff, they have yet to post their blog or video or whatever it is that they're going to post describing how drop rates are currently working and what they're going to be doing to improve them, because that's still what they have promised. So I guess we're waiting at this point. Hopefully something does drop about that before season 1, because I think some of the community, or a lot of the community, I should say, is getting frustrated by drop rates as they really, really enter into the in-game grind. So we need to know what's going on before I think season 1 rolls out. But anyway, thank you all so much for watching. Stay tuned here for more The First Descendant. I have you guys covered as always. And yeah, look out for more, and I will see you all next time. Take care.